Story 1. I love my country. I would hate to leave my friends and family. My country offers a good lifestyle. We all know each other, and we do not live a monotonous life. Story 2. Where would we go? We have been keeping a list of places that might be safe. As the months have gone on, there's nothing left. Not a state, not a country, not even the moon. Where can two people who are not wealthy go to avoid what's happening? The top of a mountain? That's where we are now. He's targeting our entire state. The depths of the ocean? I saw that submersible blow up. I'll pass. The deepest forest? A former president just announced he's cutting them all down. Seriously, look it up if you don't believe me. But I'll bet you believe me. Give me a place and reasonable means. I'm not talking about give me $1 million. I'm saying give me a common sense plan for getting there. Because right now, I don't have either, much less both. If I sound like a caged animal, congratulate the Russian president. He seems to have won this round pretty handily. Story 3. We have an excellent veterinarian for our dogs. We planned to move once and started looking for a new property. But then we realized we couldn't leave her. Story 4. I don't want to. If I did, it wouldn't be fair to my wife and kids. Additionally, my job is very unique and can only be performed in my country. Story 5. I don't want to leave. I spent months in parts of Europe and Asia, and although it was awesome, I missed so much of my home. Story 6. Because there is no peace anywhere, and that is exactly how they want it. So why leave? I would rather have predictability and raise my daughter in the quiet beach town where I grew up than throw her into something out of selfishness. Predictability is not bad if you know how to work with it. Story 7. A country that will accept me. People think it is easy, but it is incredibly hard to gain citizenship in another country. Story 8. I am caring for my aging parents, and my father is dying of brain cancer, which has left him completely paralyzed on his left side, similar to a stroke patient. My job skills are at a blue-collar level. I feel overwhelmed. Story 9. Nobody else would take me. I'm middle-aged and not wealthy. I hope to get a retirement visa in the future, but that is 15 years away, and no one may want Americans by that time. Story 10. I likely wouldn't be able to get a job elsewhere as an immigrant. If I were able to or had enough money to not have to work, I would leave as soon as possible. Story 11. Money, language barriers, and the requirements to gain citizenship and work outside my country. Story 12. Well, when it is your country, you do not leave it. You stay and fight for your country and for what is right. Story 13. It is still my best option. It is the only country where I am licensed to practice my profession. I do not have citizenship anywhere else. I like it here. The United States has not invaded yet. Anyway. Story 14. Transferring my professional license involves many applications for citizenship requirements and paperwork. I would need guaranteed employment to make it work. Story 15. Friends and family, I suppose. If I move from here in Portugal, I will go to either Denmark, Norway, or Iceland. From what I understand, it is not easy to meet people in those countries. Story 16. I live in another country, but my family and friends are all here, and I have a good, stable job that pays well. I try to visit other countries every 1 to 2 years. Although we have taken an international trip each of the last 2 years, this year might be a break while we save and plan for the next one. Story 17. Wait for the right time. The right time is the first successful attempt. Until then, I will continue to try. Story 18. Money, and I'm uncertain where to begin the process. I fluctuate between desperately wanting to leave and fighting for the country I call home and once loved. If everything fell into place and the opportunity presented itself, I would leave in a heartbeat. Story 19. Money. I would have left the United States after we legalized bribery 20 years ago if I had the means and did not have any children. Story 20. I have no college education, and the places where I would like to live may not be affordable for me. I also have 2 cats and a dog, and not many places allow pets. Story 21. I work in entertainment as a video editor and producer, but that profession is not on the positive lists in the countries I want to visit. Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and Finland. I need to shift towards information technology or a related field. I'm making progress, but it will take some time. I wish I could leave today. I have saved enough money and can easily relocate since I am single with no children. Story 22. You cannot simply leave your country and set up in a new one unless you have considerable financial resources. It seems like a common belief in the United States is that you can show up in any country and declare it your new home. The world does not operate that way anymore. Even marrying a local does not guarantee the same ease as in the past. Some countries allow you to purchase residency, usually at high costs, but that is not a permanent solution. If you intend to live outside your country for an extended period, it is often cheaper and easier to keep relocating. Especially now in Europe and other regions, there is a growing sentiment against foreigners, affecting not only expatriates but also tourists. This trend now applies to Americans as well. Story 23. And where are we going? Many countries do not easily allow people to move there. Approvals and documents are required, and one must demonstrate a net positive contribution to that nation or its citizens. Additionally, the effort to even attempt this could cost tens of thousands of dollars. More than anything, I believe my country can be great. I know the people possess the necessary qualities. It will take time and significant effort, but we can set things right. Story 24. Why would I want to leave my country? I love my country. It may have its problems, but most of us actively try to work on them. I volunteer to help with disaster relief when needed. Story 25. Family. More precisely, though I'm no longer with their mother, I have two teenage stepchildren who depend on me in multiple ways. Story 26. My wife and I are ready to move to France. We visited in January to look for houses and gain some clarity on the details. Our children are in college and do not want to come with us. My wife is hesitant to leave them behind, so we are going through the motions without a clear plan while things fall apart in the United States. Story 27. We were planning a trip to our birth country, but with the current United States political climate, it is not going to happen now. Story 28. Money. How is this even a question? The only people who can escape are the wealthy, the talented, and essential employees, individuals who can claim ancestral citizenship, and in some cases, marriage. Sure, anyone can spend $10,000 to get a passport or visa and travel to their destination of choice. But without those previous qualifications, you cannot stay permanently. You will be sent back or escorted out of the country. Are there places where you can live life as an expatriate? Yes, but they are not ideal and can be very risky. Also, if you receive any type of benefit, be aware that it may be cut off once you reside in a foreign country. In fact, benefits are likely to be reduced everywhere soon. Story 29. Money. What else could it be? I would leave the United States if I could afford it. This is becoming reminiscent of a dystopian future. Story 30. The fact that I do not want to leave my country. I used to want to travel to other continents like Europe and Asia when I was younger. However, in 2025, I am better off at home. Story 31. Leaving for a trip or vacation, or moving to a different country altogether. I am fortunate to visit other countries a few times a year. I don't think I would ever leave my country. I enjoy living here. As the world feels increasingly unstable and divided, I am not sure there is anywhere else I would feel as safe and secure. Additionally, being middle-aged, it seems like a significant hassle. Story 32. France has a rich food culture, a favorable climate, and generous paid vacation policies, alongside an excellent health system. While the general quality of life has declined in recent years, it still remains very good compared to other countries. Story 33. Money includes coins, pesos, francs, rubles, pounds, yen, rupees, and dollars. I'm broke. Story 34. I have family here, and my wife doesn't want to leave her close friends to move back to Canada. Story 35. I am American. I am uncertain if my industry would be recognized in another country, and if it is not, I do not know how I would cover my expenses. Is there a similar job available for me elsewhere? Is the salary comparable? Will I need to relearn the entire system since I am familiar with the American system? Do I meet the basic requirements in another country? Will I have to learn a new language? Am I competing with individuals who are more educated than I am? What certifications do I need to obtain? And are the certifications I currently have applicable? What industry could I transition into that would provide sufficient income if I cannot find a similar job in the new country? Story 36. Money and lack of skill. As far as I know, you can't just move anywhere you like. You need some in-demand skill or enough money for it not to matter that you lack one, and it's not cheap. Story 37. There's no guarantee it would stay better, and my entire life is here. My resources, my network, my job, everything. I am a language-oriented person, and I think moving to a country where I don't speak the language fluently would be absolutely horrible for my mental health. My options are the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. I can't stand hot weather, so Australia and New Zealand are out. The United Kingdom is experiencing a rise in right-wing sentiment, and Canada is still next door to the chaos happening here right now. At this juncture, it doesn't make sense to leave. Additionally, my parents lost my brother in infancy. I couldn't take another child even further from them and harder to access. That is all assuming I had the financial means to move, a job lined up, and a plan for what to do when I got there. None of which I have. Story 38. If by your country you mean the place you currently live, it's my child from a divorce with shared custody. If you mean the place you were born, then I wanted to see the world. Story 39. Love of suffering. Just kidding, it's money and a lack of transferable career skills to qualify for a visa. Story 40. I need to finish my studies. I have 4 exams left, 2 weeks of clinical rotation, and finally a diploma. I could obtain the diploma in the country where I plan to move, but I would then have to return just to present the thesis. Story 41. Money, friends, and family are what I would leave behind. I wish I had enough cash to take everyone I care about out of this difficult situation. Story 42. It is very expensive to move and set up a new life in a new country. I would still have to pay United States taxes even if I left. Story 43. The love of it. I love New Zealand. Friends, family, economy, countryside, and political environment. Living the dream. Story 44. Nothing, I don't live in one of those countries where you can't leave. I also don't want to. People who have never traveled much usually have no idea how good they have it. If you live in a challenging country, then I guess anything would be better. Story 45. Medical issues, financial challenges, family matters, and being a minority can create difficulties. In some areas, danger exists, and attempting to leave the country may alert the government to your presence, leading to potential discrimination. Story 46. Once my parents pass, it's going to be a serious option. Mexico, Spain, Portugal, and the Netherlands are all possibilities. I would love to go to Australia, but it's quite difficult even with family there. Story 47. I'm Canadian. I'm not leaving while United States extremists are threatening my country. Once they're gone, I'm not leaving because I firmly believe I live in one of the best countries on earth. Story 48. My love for it makes my life fine. I don't need to go through the hardships of speaking a foreign language for the rest of my life. Story 49. We have a comfortable life here and are not directly affected by any federal issues yet. Packing everything up out of fear for what the future may look like seems a little premature at the moment. I would prefer to let my kids finish high school first. We plan to leave when they are done. My hard line for leaving before that will be if we are personally affected or if constitutional or federal crimes are committed, or if the judicial system no longer holds up. Additionally, our backup plan was always Europe, but now that Europe is getting involved in the situation, we will have to wait and see how things develop there or come up with a different location. Story 50. I cannot work in my field in another country. If I could find a job with the same salary equivalent, I would leave immediately. Story 51. My husband is active duty in the military and still loves his country despite his beliefs. If I want to move, I will be doing it alone. Story 52. My wife keeps saying we have to be here in the United States for our kids. I am still of working age, but as soon as that part is over, I will be leaving. Story 53. It's hard enough mustering the courage to leave the state I have lived in all my life, let alone the country. That being said, I do not have the money to leave the state or country. I also really want to finish college. Story 54. Do people really think you can just pack up and go to any country these days? I would love to move to Spain or Europe, but obtaining a work visa or residency can be challenging. Story 55. I'm struggling with the decision at the moment. I'm fortunate enough to have one foot in another country, which would allow me to create a relatively smooth transition for my family. Some aspects of quality of life would improve, while others may decline. It will be a significant cultural adjustment with lifelong implications for our toddler daughter, both positive and negative. The other country has its own set of challenges, but there is also considerable potential for growth in the coming years. What's holding me back? I feel like I would be abandoning my family in the United States and have a responsibility not to turn my back on the US during such a challenging time. It's a complicated situation with no easy answers. Story 56. No country would want me. I have no money, and I doubt I have any skills that they would consider useful enough to be worth taking me in. Story 57. Do not provide excessive details here. Whatever the reason for this post, the information will be collected and potentially used against you. Story 58. I have 4 adopted children from foster care who are all adults now. While my husband and I could get digital nomad visas or transfer with our jobs, we cannot take any of our children with us. Our oldest is too mentally ill to be accepted by any immigration process. The middle 2 are originally from Central America and have green cards, but the youngest does not have a passport and cannot get one for another year, so she cannot leave the country. Our youngest just turned 18 last week. None of them have marketable skills, and we would have to move to another country first and then sponsor the 3 younger ones to come in 5 to 10 years. There is still no guarantee that they would be allowed to come. All of our children have experienced significant trauma and abandonment issues. Leaving them behind would devastate them and would leave them without familial support. We are their family. We only plan on leaving if and when circumstances arise that would allow our children to make an asylum or refugee claim. Story 59. I would move to Canada, but based on what I have seen, they seem unwelcoming toward American political refugees. They might even vandalize my house. Story 60. If I had a job in Europe that paid the equivalent of my salary here adjusted for the cost of living, I would move immediately. Story 61. Family, friends, a well-paid job, a good welfare system, a nice house, ease of travel, safety, and stability. The weather is not great, but spring is just around the corner. Story 62. Considering opportunities, minimal bureaucracy, education, and everyday safety, there is not much reason to go anywhere from Estonia. If necessary, I would go to Finland, which shares many of the same advantages. Story 63. I had enough points with another country's immigration system to leave, as I am in a competitive field, but then I adopted 3 children with medical needs. No country would accept me unless I was significantly wealthier. Story 64. The answer is always money. With money, you can go wherever you want and bring your friends and family with you. Story 65. I'm scared and tired. I want to leave and study abroad, but my mental state is deteriorating, and I'm feeling weak at the moment. All I have to do is make some calls, and the people at the firm will help me, but every time I pick up the phone, I talk myself out of it. It feels like I'm mentally hyperventilating, not getting enough oxygen and too much at the same time. I'm constantly fighting myself. It's rough. Story 66. Family. I love them too much to leave. Family means everything to me. It's what I live for. I wish I could leave the United States and take my whole family with me, but I would need to be extremely wealthy to do that. So, I guess money is also keeping me from moving. Story 67. Pets. By getting pets, I made a commitment years ago to care for them until their dying day. I think transporting them to another country and dealing with quarantine may be too much. Story 68. I don't have the funds to get my affairs in order and leave the United States right now. I also have concerns about racism in any place I consider relocating to, due to being black and effectively an American refugee. Story 69. Where on earth is safe? I have the feeling this situation involving Donald Trump will have global impacts and responses. Elon Musk does not have the plan for Mars operational yet. Story 70. In 2018, I moved to Budapest for graduate school, and my original intention was to stay in Europe long-term as I pursued a career in international human rights law. However, I was surprised by how homesick I became after only a year. It wasn't the United States that I missed, but my friends and communities. Ultimately, I moved back, and although things haven't improved significantly, at least I am with my people. Story 71. Crippling social anxiety prevents me from functioning effectively in my own country, where I speak my native language and understand local customs. Story 72. I have no way to support my family anywhere else. I have told my family that if they can leave, they should. Story 73. Money. I have no interest in leaving the United States. However, I might consider moving from the South to the Pacific Northwest. Story 74. What if the United States closes the border completely? I mean, this place is run by the Soviets now. Story 75. Afraid that the country I am leaving will discover weapons of mass destruction or strategic mineral reserves in whatever country I decide to move to. Story 76. Immigration rules of other countries. If they would accept me and my girlfriend, we would move in a heartbeat. Universal health care and sensible gun control, sign me up. America is struggling now that the current administration has taken over. Story 77. Not knowing where to go, not knowing the language, and not understanding the extent of racism can be challenging. It appears that many of the best places to live do not speak English and are predominantly white. Story 78. My son is divorced and coordinating that would be a nightmare. He is getting a new job but does not have enough money. Otherwise, I would do it tomorrow. Story 79. There will be many answers here, but they can all be reduced to a single variable: the threat of violence. Imagine approaching any international border with just a backpack, intending to cross on foot. If you attempt to cross this imaginary line, you will be prevented from doing so by force. This is violence. Authorities will insist they are protecting you by detaining you indefinitely. Consider the case of a German tattoo artist held in solitary confinement. Money, time, family, friends, and knowledge required. These commonly cited reasons for not emigrating become meaningless when you consider that governments will inflict violence on you simply for crossing their imaginary lines without permission. Story 80. Pretty much just the reasonable immigration laws of the countries I would potentially want to move to. I understand that I cannot just relocate to another country, keep my current job, and not inform either government about my plans. Navigating all that regulation seems quite daunting. Story 81. A better place to go that doesn't already have a house I own, with a daughter in it and equivalent employment for myself and my partner. Story 82. I don't want to. Family. I want to fight what is happening. There are still many great things and potential here. Also, inertia. Please note that leaving the United States will not protect you from what is happening here. Story 83. Plus having elderly parents who cannot or will not relocate. When they are gone someday, I will definitely consider it. Story 84. I spent my whole childhood here and know every district and place. It's going to feel really strange moving somewhere completely foreign and new. Story 85. I live in a state, so the country I reside in doesn't really matter to me. I like my state. They do things slightly better than my country does in terms of my preferences. I'd rather stay and participate in meaningful change at the local level. Story 86. I left my country, the United States, a long time ago. What is stopping me from leaving my adopted country, Austria, is that I don't want to. Story 87. The main reason is that I am afraid I will not be next to my family when they need me. I do not want to stay in the same house with them. I just want to know that I will always be there in a short amount of time. Story 88. I love my country despite the problems. If there is a third world war, we will remain calm and isolated. I am of Arab descent on my mother's side, Jewish descent on my father's side, and Latin American as well. Certainly, wherever I go in the world, people will hate me simply for existing. In Brazil, the worst thing that happened to me was being called Aladdin. Story 89. Research jobs I have seen pay poorly internationally. I don't think I could support myself. It's really discouraging to have spent so many years on a doctorate only to find such limited options for lateral moves. I am still applying and considering a significant pay cut, but I am uncertain if I can make it work. Story 90. The fact that I would have to leave my children, my sisters, and my close group of good friends is difficult. Additionally, I am almost 70, so managing finances without Social Security would be impossible. Story 91. My job involves a contract that runs until the end of the school year in early August. After that, I will be free and considering leaving the country. Story 92. Stability for my children is important. Additionally, we have a lot of extended family who help take care of them. If we move to a different country, we would face challenges in working while ensuring the children are well taken care of. Story 93. I don't have my bachelor's degree yet, and I'm not fluent enough in Japanese to forget English. It would also be beneficial to continue earning a US wage for as long as possible to afford a nice condominium in Sapporo or Tokyo. Story 94. I have plans after my youngest graduates high school, which will happen in June 2027. However, she is just as frustrated with the government as we are, so I would not be surprised if we end up moving before then. Story 95. It is nearly impossible to obtain a visa to another country unless you are fortunate enough to receive corporate sponsorship. Story 96. Money. There is a lack of understanding of other countries' immigration systems. I don't think I qualify to immigrate to many other countries since I lack special skills or education. I need to learn a new language. How would I move my belongings? Additionally, I generally like where I live. I'm just not fond of certain aspects of the governance. Story 97. Right now, there is a desire to leave. In 6 months, the Russian military will likely prevent any of us from leaving. Story 98. If you had asked me 2 weeks ago, I would have said nothing. I am actively exploring how I can expatriate to other countries. Now, however, the stock market has crashed, and I don't think I have enough money to leave anymore. Story 99. Money and family are important to me. I work in a warehouse, and I don't think many countries are seeking warehouse workers and drivers from abroad when they could potentially hire domestically. Story 100. Pretty much everything about it. No money. No marketable skills. I am on government assistance, including medical support. I am sure I have more barriers, but those stand out. Story 101. Not sure. My wife is from Thailand, and my daughter has dual citizenship. Retirement is coming in the next 15 years, and we have no family here. Before the decline of the United States, we were planning to retire in Thailand anyway. We all speak English and Thai and know the country very well. All of my wife's family is there. It's just really hot, and I'm still working on my portfolio. I have a good job here. Story 102. There is no way for me to make even a quarter of what I earn here anywhere else. I am 34 years old, and between my wife and me, we save about $90,000 per year in various retirement, brokerage, and savings accounts. The golden handcuffs are real. Story 103. In a bold display of poor judgment, we decided to leave the European Union, and now we are all stuck with those who supported it. Story 104. Several reasons in this order. My mother is too old to move, and I need to stay near her at this point. My whole family is here. None of the 1 or 2 countries that would accept me are the ones I want to move to. No country I would consider relocating to would accept me. I have already done this once. I cannot keep moving countries each time the one I am in temporarily deteriorates. At least the first time I left, it was unlikely that the country I was leaving would ever change, which has proven to be true since I left. My plan now is to stay, keep in touch with my community, fight as best I can, and go down with the ship if all fails. Story 105. My husband's work and connections allow us to be very well off here, while abroad we would likely struggle financially. Story 106. I left and spent 8 years in Colombia and Brazil. Then I lived in Germany for a couple of years, and now I am back in my country for a bit of university. Once I finish, I will leave again. Story 107. Most countries hire their own citizens before hiring foreign workers. When they do hire foreigners, it is often at a lower wage. Story 108. Moving to another country is not as easy as simply going there. You need to consider passports, visas, income taxes, and whether the country even allows immigration. Story 109. The place I want to move to does not allow foreigners to settle there, and quite frankly, that is understandable. Story 110. Nowhere would want me. I don't have any discernible skills or education. I wouldn't be improving the economy in the way I feel most expatriates do, as all the work I know how to do is tasks that literally anyone can perform. Additionally, financial concerns. Story 111. The cost of moving and the fact that I live in a great location, both politically and in many other aspects. Story 112. My kids' lives are entrenched here. I'm also in California, so besides the economic challenges, our lives won't change much. Story 113. Money is complicated, and I don't know how to navigate it. I have tried to find information on traveling to Mexico, but I don't understand why the United States structures the process in such a complicated way. It would be much easier if I could just go and find work there. Story 114. The United States is the best country on the planet. It offers good health outcomes, and individuals can earn more money here than anywhere else. There are better job opportunities, along with a promising future and security, supported by a powerful military. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.